Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome along to TechHeads. This is the first TechHeads event that I've done, although I have done plenty of Time to React, Product Circle, TA talks, podcasting and stuff like that. So hopefully you're in relatively good hands. But my name's Duncan and I am a digital healthcare specialist here at Woodrow Mercer. So I work with basically a wide variety of healthcare businesses, both assisting them with sales into the NHS and also with their recruitment needs as well. Tonight we're going to be hearing some pretty strong talks, I believe, from two very experienced technology leaders. These guys have been sort of technology focused first and sort of found their way into the healthcare sector, which is obviously an industry which is under a huge spotlight at the moment. So really interested to sort of get an insight into being a technology leader within a healthcare environment. And fingers crossed it's really interesting and engaging, both for those of you who are focused on healthcare, but also for those of you who are, just focused on the sort of technology side of things and just wanting to see how the differences relate to your industry. So it is a live event, so feel free to get involved, ask questions. There will be a Q&A after each of the talks. They'll be able to sort of field your questions there, and hopefully have a bit of a discussion around some interesting points that are raised in each of the presentations. So tonight's event is also sponsored by Pusher, who are at all of our events. Basically, we wouldn't be able to do it without them. So Alex from Pusher, he does all the sort of videography and everything like that in the background, and the technical kind of facilitation of the event. So really thankful to him for all of the hard work that he does, and also the guys at Pusher for hosting us on their platform on YouTube as well. So within the other sponsor, for tonight's event is Medidata Solutions, who our first our first presenter, Stephen, is from there as well. So Medidata, you can find out a lot more about them. I'll chuck a link to their website in the comments section as well. But yeah, they're a really interesting business. They've started off in America, I believe. And they're kind of going from strength to strength within that MedTech sector. So within healthcare, there's obviously HealthTech, telehealth, mHealth, biotech, and they're sort of sitting within that MedTech sector. So super interesting business. We've got a few of those guys speaking at the next couple of our events, both Time to React, Product Circle, and all those kind of stuff. So if you are interested by them, hopefully by the end of this sort of series of events over the next few months, you'll get a really good deep dive into their technology practice. But you also will tonight as well. I know Stephen's going to talk about them in a little bit more detail. So thanks very much to them for helping kind of run this event as well. So as mentioned, Stephen is our first guest speaker of the evening. So he's going to be taking over in a second, so he'll be in very capable hands once I shut up. And he's going to be talking through building a tech culture within Medidata. So like I mentioned, he's tech focused first and then found himself within their sort of healthcare sector. So making sure that it's sort of, tech first in order to solve medical problems. So really interesting to see sort of the culture that he's built there and what he values is important within his team and how that relates to people potentially outside of the healthcare sector as well. And then we've got Venkat Balakumar, who is basically an interim CTO. He's worked in a number of different startups, both within the healthcare sector and without not in the healthcare sector. He is really experienced. He's very good at sort of building platforms up from scratch, and he's going to be talking about transformation in the new normal. The new normal is something where it still feels very abnormal, but it's going to be really interesting to see how he's kind of tackling these technology transformation projects in this new world that we all find ourselves in. So I'm sure we can all relate to that. So finally, just a reminder that it's a live event. Please don't hesitate to get in contact. during the event, after the event, at any stage, either to ask questions directly to the speakers, or if you want to ask a question to myself as well, then obviously I'll share my details with you on the comment section, so you can feel free to shoot me through a private message, or just check on a comment, and we'll get around to it after each topic. So I believe that's everything. Without much further ado, I'll leave you with our first guest speaker of the evening. One day I'll get that right first time. Stephen, cheers.
My name is Steve Sitton, and I'm a senior engineering manager at Medidata. And my talk is covering building a tech culture at Medidata. So firstly, just a bit about me. So I've been working in the tech industry for over 20 years now. Started off as a developer, gradually worked my way up to leading teams, and I've been managing teams now for over 7 years. I've been at Medidata now for 2.5 years doing that, leading teams there. If you're interested in finding me on Twitter, my handle is Steve Sitton. For those who maybe don't know much about Medidata, Medidata Solutions help shorten the time to start and complete clinical trials and bring drugs to market faster. This means millions of patients can see the benefits of medical research faster. So we are basically a global company working throughout the whole clinical trial process. So we have an office in London, which is based in Hammersmith. Obviously, we're all working remote now with the current situation, but we have 10 engineering teams based there. Along with that, we also have remote teams based in India with a vendor, roughly about the same number, and they pair up with the teams that we have in the UK. We have a software as a service platform that is completely on the cloud, and our tech stack is primarily Scala APIs. We do have some Java services, some Java tooling, as well as our UI is based on React and Node.js. So doing a talk on building a tech culture, it's important to maybe try and understand what culture is, because it's difficult to pin down the definition, because culture means different things to different people. Now, one of the most probably popular quotes around culture is "culture eats strategy for breakfast," which is accredited to Peter Drucker. And this is true, because no matter how good your strategy is, there's a human factor to how successful your projects will be. And you can search online for definitions about culture, but one that's always stuck me is that your culture is every decision you make. I heard this on a talk some time ago, but unfortunately I can't remember who by. But it stuck with me because I really believe that it's true, that your culture is basically driven by every person in your organization, in your tech teams, and by the decisions that they make. It's not something that can be pushed down from the top, and no matter how many posters you put around the office or colourful beanbags there are lying around, that doesn't give you your culture. It's the people that do that. And I believe that it's the responsibility of all of the managers, the leadership, to provide an environment where your culture can grow. So I'm going to go through what kind of forms the basis for our culture at Medidata, and how our tech culture grows on top of that. But I'll also be providing just, say, personal opinions around some leadership and management that apply to that are related. So an essential part of building any culture is to have a mission, something that people believe that they can be part of. At Medidata, we're united around a single goal, that together we power smarter treatments and healthier people. This means that at Medidata, we're more than just a technology company. We believe we're building an architecture of hope. And this is a powerful mission because it's changing people's lives for the better. It's even more crucial now in the current pandemic that we're in. And everyone at Medidata is part of this mission every day. I mean, Medidata, our tech teams are no different to other tech teams. We're busy. There can be pressure on. We're delivering features and supporting our customers. So I believe that it's important to remind the teams about what our mission is, so that when the days are hard, when we are, let's say, bogged down in all of our work, we need to see what that value of that work is all about, and look at our mission to see what that is delivering, because that provides an extra focus, an extra energy into what we're doing, because of the impact that our work can have. So I believe that this mission is, let's say, the base layer to our culture. It's a common purpose throughout, which we build upon. So next, at Medidata, we have, say, core principles, but I would say that one of the core values at Medidata is that of caring. And you can see that in the 5 founding principles that there is at Medidata, which is diversity and belonging, sustainability, employee wellness, volunteering, and philanthropy. Now, Medidata is a mission-driven company that sees the diversity of its employees as a tremendous asset, and that values creating a sense of belonging throughout the company. So not only does Medidata care about its employees, but it also cares about the environment around us. One example of this can be seen in a project where Medidata UK partnered with the Hammersmith Business Improvement District to work on a partlet program where to improve the green space and the air quality in the area. And this resulted in some parklets being created pretty much directly outside of our office, so that the public and the community can use these, as well as people at Medidata can see that this is something that the company has been part of, that they want to change and help the community. But there are also, throughout the company, there are volunteering opportunities and programs where employees can give back to the community as well. So this is just a quick overview, but it helps to show the aspects of Medidata, how it is a caring organization. It cares for customers, it cares for employees, it cares for patients, and it cares for the environment around us. I wanted to share this because I believe that it's important, because it's basically Medidata's DNA. It really is what Medidata is all about. And this is what our employees, what our teams are all part of. So we have these principles, but then Medidata strives for 3 things as part of its culture, which are openness, collaboration, and fun. So looking at our tech culture, we can build on top of these, build on top of the openness, collaboration, and fun within our teams. I do see that openness is important in any tech teams, because ultimately you want people to be themselves at work. For this to happen, we need to create an environment that ultimately fosters psychological safety, so that people can be themselves and feel that they're in a safe environment within their teams. Now, there are many talks on psychological safety and the aspects around that, but I believe that it's the engineering managers' responsibility to ensure that their teams are a safe place for people to express their opinions, to express their feelings. And And this doesn't come for free. It takes effort. And I believe some areas to do this are building relationships. Ultimately, this is down to building trust within the teams. This can be done through regular one-to-ones, but it's about getting to know the people in your team, know what's important to them, know about their families, remembering their birthdays. Sometimes it's the simplest of things that makes a big difference to a person, but it helps them feel more comfortable, let's say, feel themselves. And once you get that, they can be more open. And then it's about being role models. I really believe that, particularly as managers, we should be role models to others. So we're asking our teams to do certain things, yet if we go and do the opposite, that's not setting a great example, and it won't certainly lead to other people wanting to do the same thing. But it's also about people within the teams being role models for each other, so that we can so it's how we react to mistakes and how open we are to other people's ideas. All of this is about being an example to others, but it helps, all leads to that openness. And then actively listening. I mean, we can all be very good at talking, but actively listening ultimately is a skill, and it's certainly something that I'm working on. But it shows that you care. It shows you care about, who's talking to you. You care about what they're saying, and you want to learn more about it. And then that helps that person feel more comfortable as well, feel valued. And then giving feedback is an important part of building any culture, both positive and constructive, whether it's at a team level through retrospectives or even in one-to-ones. Feedback shows that you care about someone. You want to give them positive feedback to encourage what they're doing, but also constructive to help them in any areas that they're looking to work on, any areas that may need development. But ultimately, it shows that you care. Now, I believe that these are key areas that help people feel safe in themselves at work, and ultimately provide an opportunity for a culture of openness. Now, moving on to collaboration. Collaboration is important, particularly when you have distributed teams. And although autonomy is important to us, we want to make sure that we're learning from each other constantly. Now, I put collaboration into different areas. So first of all, leadership collaboration. I see this as kind of one of the most important areas, because having partnerships with your peers in the organization is essential for improving and helping your teams, but also making your workplace better. We have obviously the usual Slack channels where we can update people and ask questions. This is good. But we also wanted something that can help the collaboration and learn from each other. And this led to having what we've called a leadership forum. So this is every month, we, as in the leaders, managers, the directors, would get together and just have open discussions around what's important to our teams. All the topics are driven by us within the teams, so that basically we're raising and discussing anything that's kind of important to us, so that we can make improvements and see how other teams are working. I would say that the picture you see on the slides isn't a leadership forum in action. This was a social, just where we're building relationships. But that's another key part of this that I've really enjoyed, is it's helped us build relationships with other managers. So I've got to know some of the managers through this that maybe I wouldn't have normally, just in the office environment. But this leadership forum has really helped us improve on areas within our tech culture, so that we've learned how other teams operate. Now, that's not to say that we want our teams to work exactly the same, but we can find common patterns. We can find good things within teams that we may want to put into others. But it's also around maybe like initiatives. We've improved our hiring process. We've learned how best or how we can improve adopting certain practices like DevOps. This is still in progress, but we can discuss at this level things that are working as part of that and things that may need improvement. But we discuss and we collaborate together to do that. So the next one is team collaboration. Now, even before lockdown, collaboration is important across our teams, and because we've got different teams across different time zones. So the communication and that collaboration has been essential for our culture. And obviously we have our Slack channels across the teams, and video chats. That's all important for building our culture. But what we wanted to do was to try and avoid some of the silos within our teams and find ways that we can share knowledge across them. So we started an initiative to help break down some of these silos. The initiative is called MediTech. So we see this as, say, a mini conference or a get-together of all of the engineering teams to share what work they're working on or what's important that could be relevant to other people. So every month we have 2 or 3 talks that can be anything about what the team is doing or what they think another team might find valuable. So over the course of how long it's been running, we've had 31 talks, I think 32 speakers and 8 different hosts. So what this provides us is an opportunity not only for sharing knowledge, but for people in the team to practice their public speaking or even hosting an event. But I believe that this MediTech has been a real big part of our tech culture. I believe it's just great to see how people have been building relationships based on a talk. People have been wanting to chat, discuss, work with each other on the ideas that they've heard so that they can learn more about it or see how that it can apply to them. But also this MediTech has grown to different countries. We've had Japan have been having their own MediTechs, but also other countries have joined our MediTech. So we've had speakers from Japan or the US from their engineering teams that have come and shared information that could be relevant for us. So it really has built on this culture of collaboration, not only within London, but across the tech organization. And then as well as team, there is just individual collaboration as well. This is where obviously as managers, we can work with individuals on anything that could be important to work on, skills or anything that needs areas of development. But also pair programming as well. That's important for individuals to work and collaborate together. So I really believe I've enjoyed all of this collaboration, all of the leadership, the team, and individually, because it's really built on Medidata's core principle of belonging, where we've been collaborating across all these different levels. And then when we move on to fun, now, the teams they work hard and they are under pressure at certain times. So it's important that we can have fun along the way. And having fun is a key part of our culture. And we do this in a variety of ways. We do have regular hackathons where teams groups of people can work together to obviously achieve whatever the project is. We have team meals and drinks. We have sports events. Now, admittedly, some of you may not see a sports event is much fun, but there is also a social aspect to all of this, where people who may not be wanting to run, but they join in just for the social interaction. But then throughout the year, there's also many other social events, whether it's the office as a whole or just the tech teams, just about being with the team and having fun. But obviously, as now we're all in lockdown, it's important to maintain that, because to try and avoid situations where anyone is feeling isolated or lonely, it's important to maintain those the connections that we have in our teams, which is hard when we are all fully remote. So again, this takes effort, but we've been doing this through remote drinks, online games, and team events. But what we've seen is it's good to see the teams, working together, having a bit of fun, even through obviously the situation we're all in now, where we are all working remotely. But all these events and all these opportunities just gives a moment away from the work or the challenges we have, just to have fun with some of the friends that we have in the office. So I see all of that as all part of our culture and building our culture. But it is a journey, and it's a journey that I never really believed that you will never get to an end of. You'll never be finished. I think that one thing you can be sure of is that change is guaranteed. Organizations evolve, people change, the environment around us can be unpredictable, as we're very much seeing at the moment. So a sense of a healthy culture is one that gets stronger. And this is what we see at Medidata in our teams, that what we've seen around us, we work together, we work with each other through challenges, through different circumstances. This is where we help each other out, we look out for each other, and we grow stronger through that as a united team. And that ultimately that we can change, adapt to change together. Obviously, we've had a big change with lockdown, and ultimately when we look at our engineering teams, although it's a big change of all going fully remote, this actually had minimal impact on our productivity. Now, ultimately, you can say that no commuting has had an impact on that, and that's true. But it's also the mindset and the attitudes of the people in the teams who have continued wanting to work together. They've known our mission and what we're delivering to our customers, and that's helped us to adapt to changes, the big changes that we're seeing around us, and obviously keep that culture that we have at Medidata. But also, it's more than kind of adapting to changes around us in the environment that are unpredictable, but it's also bringing in new changes within an organization, maybe new practices. I mentioned earlier around DevOps. Now, ultimately, this can be a big change for people in the organization. It's different ways of doing things. But this, again, is where our culture is a strength, because this is where we work together, we're open around maybe some of the difficulties we're having around this, some of the things we're not quite sure about. When we're collaborating together, we're working together to gradually get to a better place with any new practice or any new changes to come in. This is all a sign of the healthy culture, the strong culture that we have at Medidata. So to summarize, our tech culture is built on our powerful mission, our core principles, which has a strong sense of caring, as well as striving for an environment of openness, collaboration, and fun. And this enables us to nurture our strongest talent, the people, because ultimately we want our teams to be who they want to be themselves, and ultimately have an opportunity to be where they want to be. And we believe that we can give the people the safety and the environment for them to do that within Medidata. And I believe that all of this has helped Medidata become one of the best places to work with, voted for this year as a great place to work. We're voted number 18 in the large company category. So I really do believe that it is every decision that defines our culture. And at Medidata, we are building a culture. We are building our tech culture. It is a journey, but we're working we're working together, making decisions to help us improve and be better. Thank you.
Okay, cool. I think that's all good. Thank you very much for that, Stephen. That was a really, really good presentation. We're going to go over to the Q&A now, and if you have any questions, please do leave them in the comment section. I'm just filling in for Duncan as well temporarily whilst he's having some connection issues, so I'm just going to fill in the gap there. We might have him back later. We'll see if that works out. But Stephen, Venkat, thank you very much. Do you have any questions for each other?
Definitely, yeah. You mentioned like you are managing. You have 10 teams actually over here, actually, right? How many of them actually you manage?
Yeah, sure. So 2 London teams I manage and 1 team in India.
Oh. All right. Okay. Great. So and also like you know we went into lockdown actually sometimes back, and I'm like you might have actually faced quite a lot of challenges in bringing together the team. How actually this has impacted in productivity in your work, in the way you usually work actually.
Yes. So productivity itself was actually good. We can argue that it increased as well. So I think one of the big challenges that at least was on my mind is around people who are isolated. Obviously, you've just gone through a big change. We're all in lockdown, as it were, a lot of things going on in the environment, in society. So I wanted to ensure that people who are isolated or lonely, that the connections were still there, even if they're at home alone, that they could still, obviously the team connections, the relationships, that was still a priority. So that was a key part. The other thing that we noticed is that as soon as you hit lockdown, kind of everyone cancelled their holidays, which is fine, is expected. But it's still important that people take time off. We entered March and April where people were kind of continuously at their screens. And it's important to encourage teams to take some time off, even if it's like a staycation or they're not going out. It's important just to not be at the screen all the time. So trying to encourage that, it can be challenging because we know there's not many opportunities around to go anywhere. But again, it's about being a role model as well. And I try to take time off myself as well. So and to show the team that it is okay to take time off, and they should do, just for their own health.
Great. And you have teams in different location, and probably like team from other organization also may be working with you actually. How do you make sure like they come into the same culture and philosophy of Medidata?
Yeah, so I mean, working with vendors, obviously, it's always slightly different because there's no line management there. But obviously, we all have our mission, and our mission is important, and they're part of that. So, but it's still, for me, a lot of this just comes down to building relationships, getting to know them, building the trust. Then it's just like another person to another person, no matter where they are or who they're working for. That's kind of really what I believe in, and what I try and install in teams is just build up those relationships, help people to try and be open, encourage conversations, or people to share opinions, and ultimately working together, working for each other. Those are the kind of the key areas that then it breaks down barriers. It doesn't matter where you are, where you're located, what country, if you're a vendor team or you're part of Medidata, because we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to, we have the same goal. So those are kind of how I kind of see it and build that culture from there.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all from me.
Okay. I'm just curious, are there any particular activities that you've been able to do as with your colleagues, outside of work hours?
So yeah, most of this stuff is kind of remote, so we have a bit of fun kind of with drinks,
Yeah.
video chats, what we can do, and online games obviously is a big thing, just to kind of take your mind off work and have a bit of fun, really. So I guess you are quite limited in what we can do, but it's still important just to, you know, there may be little things, even like a 10-minute game, but it can still kind of be important just to have a bit of fun, maybe laugh about, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to do. So those are the types of things we continue to do.
Yeah, I think there's been a big resurgence in like online gaming as well. Like people are doing that with their colleagues, like during their lunch hours. And I think there was even one agency, a creative agency I heard, that were hosting all of their meetings on Red Dead Redemption online. So they were logging into the game with their characters, and then all sitting around the campfire and actually having a meeting about work all around it. And then like all these different things would happen like during the game, like somebody, you know, would get on their horses and then ride off and stuff. It's just like, but that's a really clever, creative way of actually getting around some of these kind of tedious things that we have to do now.
We've been playing a bit of Pictionary, so that's always quite good fun. Testing our drawing skills, or lack of drawing skills, I should say.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I guess this is now time to take us over to you, Venkat, with your presentations. So I'll just cue that up now, and we'll be able to go in a second. Thanks.
Yeah, I think there are a few more questions for Steve from the audience.
Oh yeah, I forgot to even check actually. I was keeping an eye on it and it didn't seem like anything was coming through, but that's good. Okay, let's take a look. What we got? So Raphael has asked, have you found that the culture has evolved requiring documented culture to be revised?
I'm not really sure what we mean by documented culture, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither, actually. Maybe you can clarify, Raphael, and we can ask again. Andrew has asked, you mentioned active listening. How have you learned to hone those skills as a manager over the years?
Yeah, personally speaking, it's actually taken a bit of effort. I'm quite easily distracted. And I think it is just really focusing on removing distractions. This is, you know, whether you're talking to the person in the flesh, obviously in the office, or even over video. It's just trying to remove distractions, obviously focus on what the person is saying, listening to what they're saying, and then obviously not thinking too far ahead with what you want to say next, as opposed to you know, try and follow on with what they're saying with maybe deeper questions. That's probably the biggest thing that I had, is based on what they're saying, how can you get a bit deeper in that, instead of maybe changing the subject with something else you just want to say, you're just waiting for them to finish it. So that's kind of something that's worked for me.
Sure. Raphael did actually have another question after that as well, which was, how have you addressed team members that have not been following the principles of company culture? What's the company process to correct or redirect behavior not aligned with the culture or values? It's quite a tricky one.
I like tricky questions. That's all right. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like relationships, and it comes down to being open. We mentioned about that, and as an important part of the culture is openness. Now, if there's things that kind of maybe aren't quite aligning, or things that maybe aren't fitting with that, it's about having an open conversation. And typically that will come down with the manager in a one-to-one, just try and find out, get a bit deeper into, you know, are there any reasons for the behavior that we're seeing, and just try and understand it a bit more and go from there, basically. See their point, see why, potentially if there's any reasons, and see if we can see how we can potentially look to change things going forward. If there's particular pieces of direction I can give, for instance, you know, I'd like to see this going forward, or why don't we try doing this? There could be quite a lot of different reasons why things are not quite right, and it's important to try and understand from their point of view, instead of making assumptions. And then we can work together on trying to see how we can obviously fit towards the culture going forwards.
For sure. We have one last question as well from Magdalena. How do you assess team fit, in quotation marks, team fit, to a company culture during your recruitment process?
I think it's one of the most challenging things to assess whether someone will fit culturally in the space of, say, 30 minutes or an hour. And I think you can ask kind of behavioral questions around, how would you act in this types of situations, or scenario-based questions. And I think we are limited, and we have to go by those types of questions, and ultimately get a feeling based on not only the answers to those questions, but generally across the whole interview, how do you think they will fit? And we can never be 100% sure. Whatever happens, there's always that risk. But I think the more questions we can try and find out how people, what their feelings are, what type of person they are, I think they're the important parts of an interview, to try and understand what means something to that person.
Sure, that's good. Raphael has also just clarified on his first question. So what he meant by documented culture was, how the culture has been written within the company. Have they been the same or changed?
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't say so. How it's written is, very much how you can get to do on the company website is quite, let's say, open or there's a lot of freedom, let's say, in whether it's openness, collaboration, culture. There, it's not like a set of rules that you should do this or this. It's kind of trying to encourage in those, and it's expectations on the managers to encourage that within their teams. So it's not. I don't see it as kind of a rules-based culture, and obviously it's important not to be. If that's what we mean by a documented culture, it's more trying to encourage the bigger kind of openness, collaboration, and fun, as opposed to like a fine grain. Well, openness means this, and you have to do this. That's not what it is within Medidata.
No, that's great. We have one more question just come in, so we'll do that. We'll have to make that one the last one so we can stick to the schedule. But Krishna has said, do you face any parity issues between on-site and vendor teams? If yes, how did you handle it?
I think there's always difference between on-site and vendor, or even remote, you could say. Ultimately, vendors, they don't work for you. You're giving them a job, and you're paying them to do a certain task. So there's always a cultural difference. But I really do think that it comes down to building relationships. Ultimately, they're people, and you want to get the best out of them as much as you do with your own team, say, that you're line managing. And I think if they understand you begin to get to know them, not just for the work they're doing, but personal relationships as well, learn more about them as people. And I think you can break down any barriers. And there is no difference between, when you're actually doing the work, whether they work for Medidata or whether they work for a vendor company, you still want to get the best out of them. And if they feel open and freedom in what they're doing, then I think that's the best way for any teams to operate.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to write them in the comments, and we'll take it hopefully into an extended discussion after we've heard from Venkat. And I think that's perfect time now just to go over to your talk now, Venkat. So just bear with us 1 second. Thank you.
Hi, we'll take a look at transformation in new norm in this presentation. A little bit about myself. I am Venkat Balakumar. I am an experienced CTO. I've done head of technology roles in many organizations. I'm also helping a lot of startups. I've worked with a lot of financial services. I'm an advocate of cloud, AI, machine learning, big data, and DevOps. I've created quite a lot of strategies, built teams based on these technologies. Let's take a look at what the new normal is all about. So I'm not going to actually bore you with what we have actually encountered in the last few months. I actually wanted to discuss about what we are going to do now and what is going to happen in the near future. This
is based on business IT. So the business IT and the strategy. That's the context. So if you take a look at what has happened in the last 3 months, which I want to quickly go through, and this is not about the work or IT which we are doing. This is about some of the findings which scientists did in the last 3 or 4 months. That period which we encountered in our life, probably once in a lifetime, this happened for most of us. Hopefully, let's keep it like that. It happens only once in a lifetime. This lockdown was the longest period of quiet in the human history. We all might have actually encountered that. We all might have felt it during this time. Less number of traffic, quiet times. So this is one of the byproducts of the lockdown. Many scientists did a lot of research during this lockdown period, which I'm not going to bore you with. Next comes Facebook data, which I actually found in one of the Zoom meetings which I went recently with DX Connect. So Facebook presented about what has actually changed during the last 3 months. So one of the things which struck me was this point where they say like 94% of the people who are using Facebook actually changed their daily habit after COVID-19. This is like, the time we get up, the time we eat food, the time we speak with our other peoples, because Facebook do have data about our activities through their app as well as WhatsApp, and what kind of things which we discuss with other people. Everything actually changed. The whole world actually had gone through this change. So these are some of the fun facts or facts about the lockdown period. Let's go into the new normal. Let's define what's the new normal is, the key performance indicators or of the new normal. So we always want business as usual in any situation. That's what we're going to expect from the new normal also. Wherever we work from, even though we are apart, we want to actually work together. We want to use technologies that actually keeps us together during this time. This is actually the new normal, which I'm going to talk about in this presentation. One thing which we might have noticed, many of us might have actually encountered, is the DR and business continuity plans which we have done and tested in the last so many years within our organizations. I've seen long ago, we'll ask one of the network person to go and sit in one of the routers, near the routers, and then we'll call them up, and then we'll ask them to pull the plug, and then we'll just do the test. And then we'll also do the test by asking people to work from home more, trying to find out whether our network is capable of handling that. So those plans which we tested before is now being done on real time. So these are the KPIs, or these are the indicators which we can have in the new normal. So the main point here is business as usual in any situation. That's what we are actually aiming to do. During the last 3 months, I had the opportunity to speak with so many people in organizations, meetings from my home, and I found out so many outputs from those meetings and inputs from the people who attended the meetings. So I created a small SWOT analysis on what I discussed, what I heard, what I gathered as data from them. So looking at this analysis of the new normal, actually what has happened, what is happening now, many people say they are seeing better meetings compared to what they used to be having before the pandemic or COVID-19. So they're able to meet quickly and then decide quickly on many aspects within the organization. So that's one of the strengths which many people actually said is happening, which I've also seen personally. Lot of collaborations, more collaborations increased between the people within the organization and within the vendors, and other people who are giving support. So using various technologies, not only using chats, not only using emails, but yeah, personally, what I usually do is like I keep a team WhatsApp group for all the teams with whom I work with. I still actually maintain them and then keep in connection with them. That helps us to quickly send a message to them and then do some work as and when needed. So wherever they are, if they're not able to pick up the message immediately, they'll be able to pick it up when they go home, or when they actually see the mobile phone. So that's how actually this has happened. More collaboration and more time. People get more time nowadays. Many say like they are spending less time in commuting to their office, and then they're spending more productive time uh, in, um, in giving the best of them during the work. So it's not like everybody. Science has proven that everybody is not able to work from 9 to 5 or a defined time. Everybody has their ups and downs in a day. So this has given that flexibility for many people to actually work in times when they are actually up and having more energy and more ideas and more thoughts. So that's the strength which I've seen during the new normal. And weaknesses, of course, there is a new risk of working from home. Even I have experienced that. Actually, I started working after putting something in the kitchen in the hob, and then I came and started working. I completely forgot, and then the whole thing burnt completely. So luckily, nothing much happened. Just the food burnt. Uh, that's the kind of risks which I'm talking about while working from home. Of course, there is a delicate balance between other activities which we usually do at home and the work. Obviously, that compensate with the strength which I spoke before about more time and more flexibility on the way people work. And next one I hear is completely contrary to the better meetings and better decision making. Some people feel like there is slowness, or they've seen slow decision making, rather than it taking going to someone and then asking in their desk. um, it takes some time for them to keep in touch with them and contact them when they're working from home, and then take the decision based on the inputs or outputs that's received from that person. Next one is an issue with onboarding, which we all might have actually seen. When a new person is onboarded into the organization during this challenging time, um, there are many issues. It's like providing them with the welcome pack, sending them their laptops to their home, and all, and letting them actually log into the system for the first time, and then introducing them to the entire organization and the IT and the operations and everything. So that is a bit of a challenge. Now probably it will be all right as we actually go along the new normal. I'm going to actually tell about that specifically on the knowledge management and knowledge sharing, which needs much improvement during the new normal to facilitate such onboarding operations. Next comes the opportunities. So opportunities are, people felt like they have had time to stop and rationalize what they were actually doing. May it be a project, may it be a program, or investment in new technology, or investment in something which they wanted to provide as a service to others. So those things, they actually had an opportunity to stop for a couple of months and then think about it and then rationalize. So next one is tech rationalization. Again, this gave an opportunity for people to find out what actually works, what actually doesn't work when people started to work from remote. and they are able to identify these systems which requires improvement, some systems which are not even being used but still running, and they can actually quickly shut it down. So these things which they found as an opportunity during this lockdown. Next comes learning, which is very interesting because people found a lot of time actually to learn new things during the lockdown. I've seen many reports coming out from online learning platforms, like people started buying more courses and then started actually going through the courses. And I've seen many people who I spoke with some of my friends actually who go on actually buying courses during the time when the course comes in 60%, 70% off in Udemy, and then they completely forget that, and then again, it keeps in their inbox without even knowing that they bought that course. So they found time to learn and improve their skills, maybe a soft skill or a hard skill, IT skills, whatever you call it. So they find actually opportunity to stop and learn during this time. Threats are a bit harsh because many roles actually may go, or many roles actually went away during this um, um, pandemic, unfortunately. So basically, being positive, hopefully everything, when the new normal is up and running, um, roles will come back, and then people start to realize like what they missed, and then they'll be able to bring back people in to their organization. New projects got delayed, or new project got completely shut down because of the new normal, which we have already seen, um, which resulted in a lot of recruitments being stopped. And there's a huge cybersecurity threat that has come up because of the new normal. When people started to work from home, people tend to access their applications, everything remotely, which probably hosted on premise or hosted in the cloud. So there is quite a lot of opportunity for cyber criminals to try and interface with people's network and then try to steal data out of it. So there's a huge cybersecurity threat that has actually come up recently. So there's quite a lot of work that need to be done on that aspect in this new normal. A lot of investment need to be made on cybersecurity in the new normal. Next one is, of course, office parties. Many miss office parties. I miss going out with my team. Of course, no, when I provide my service to an organization, I usually keep my team close to my heart, and everybody. We had a lot of things actually happening around. Like, we used to have cook and bring. We share food. We go out once in a couple of weeks, and as part of the agile process, many teams tend to go out during their retrospective, and then do what their agile retrospective in during a lunchtime out in the restaurants. That actually got completely stopped now, and hopefully in the new normal we'll come back to meeting people very soon. So let's see about transformation now. So we spoke about transformation in new normal. We've defined what new normal is. We're going to define what transformation is. It's a bit simple. Transformation is just change. So change, if you look at in any way, it's something really huge. A change in organization, change in the way people work, change in the people mindset, how they actually used to work before. Everything is changed now. So it's nothing but change in people as well as business IT. I was specifically given like not business and IT because nowadays, and of course in the future, business IT is same. It's the same unit in an organization. If something happens to business, it affects the IT. If something happens in IT, it affects the business. So they actually go together. They are not two different entities now. So let's define the new normals on the business IT. What is actually going to happen? Look at the IT side of that Venn diagram. If you take business and as one side and IT as another side intersecting with each other, I'm going to actually speak about the IT side of it now. So we'll take these topics and then I'll quickly go through them. New normal on data, system operations, security audit, knowledge sharing, and IT budget. Now let's look at the data. So what we expect in the new normal on data. So we expect data to be accessible from anywhere securely. So that's the thing which we want. And also data should be easy to find, that is categorized, curated behind certain APIs securely. Make sure the data is reliable because of the curation that has happened, and also anonymized and classified. We can't actually let open the data to everyone, and also in an organization which is spread around the world, obviously you cannot export data from one location to another location without anonymizing or classifying the data. So next one comes the centralized part of the data. So specifically within the legal boundaries, we have to make sure it is in a central location where people will be able to access it from anywhere, and it should be available all the time. So that's the data side of the new normal. Next comes the system side, which is your IT applications, your PaaS, the vendor applications, everything which we access as part of our business as usual and day-to-day activity. So these should be secure and accessible from anywhere. So you must have less downtime compared to what you have before, because if something goes down, actually that's it, whole cycle of productivity gets completely affected. This will have more effect in the new normal compared to what we had in the office, because if something happened when we were all in the same location in an office, we'll have the ability to quickly call up the person who's responsible for a particular application or the team who's responsible for that, and then make them to fix it quickly, and then things start to move quickly. But in this time, we must make sure we build the system with the key requirement that it has to go through less downtime. It has to be resilient actually, and the system should also be repairable and replaceable easily. I don't want to actually give away more on the technical side on what to do with this. I'll come to that later on the takeaway part of this presentation. And next comes easy to develop. So basically, we used to have teams sitting in the office trying to develop these projects, and we all were together in the same place. But in this new normal, we should be in a situation where the products or the projects which we are actually working on are easy to develop from anywhere in the world, or anywhere where we are sitting. Of course, anywhere in the world actually raises opens another Pandora box of outsourcing, which I don't want to get into it now. That's completely different way of managing compared to in-house development or purchasing something from a vendor. So next comes the agility in the way which we develop system. We want to have an agile way of delivering the systems. And of course, I want to put a point on cloud native in this system's new normal, because cloud native makes sure everything is put in the cloud, nothing is dependent on anything on premise, and we'll be able to rely on the cloud native features, and we'll be able to develop the systems from anywhere in the world, or anywhere from our home or different offices. And that's how actually I expect the new normal to happen now and on the coming months and years. And next comes the new normal of security and audit. So cybersecurity, as I discussed before in the SWOT analysis, is the key now. It's something which need to be immediately looked at and immediately implemented within the organization, audited within the organization. And we don't want to end up like any organization which went through ransomwares in the recent past. So cybersecurity is the key new normal which need to be immediately addressed. Next comes the privacy engineering. That privacy engineering concept is completely a large concept on its own. I just want to quickly give you an idea of what privacy engineering is. Privacy engineering is something, if you have a huge amount of data or a data set with you, and if it contains any privacy data or privacy fields in the data, privacy engineering makes sure that gets anonymized, that gets masked before you start consuming the data. So this is a new IT trend or IT strategy that's coming up, which is being used by many organizations now, which are using big data privacy engineering. So next comes identity and access management, which is, of course, comes under the security or cybersecurity also. So basically, we many tend to utilize identity and access management, which are on-premise, and those need to be moved into cloud. And a new way of managing your devices, your applications, and access managements need to be defined in the new normal. Next one is activity audit. So basically, everything need to be audited, and you will be from now on in the new normal, you'll end up with a huge amount of activity data that need to be preserved in case something happens which is against an organization's or enterprise policy. So we'll be able to go back into the audit and we'll be able to find out what has actually happened. So I expect a lot of activity audit or audit to happen during this new normal time. So next comes a new normal of operations. This actually brings in new practices like Agile, if you're not using Agile, DevOps, SRE. A lot of new practices need to be incorporated into an organization and should be a part of the IT strategy actually. So that's the new normal of operations. This definitely facilitates systems development in a huge way, because incorporating Agile and DevOps definitely increases the productivity of the development teams, the systems which we develop, and deliver everything faster and better than it used to before. Next comes cloud native. That also comes under the operations, where everything is I'm trying to actually define it in very neutral, non-technical way. So cloud native is something where everything runs from the cloud, everything. So operations should also be taking into account the cloud native aspects and should be managing the cloud native aspects in the new normal. Next comes the IT budgeting. So a lot of capex will now move into opex. For example, on-premise to cloud, and new or increased in collaboration tools and softwares. A lot of new licenses need to be bought because many people started to work from home. Probably like we'll have to improvise on the way we collaborate. Probably invest on some chat tools and softwares. We may need to actually encounter new vendors. We need to bring them in for facilitating the new normal. So that's also going to happen. That also has a significant investment to be done. And of course, investment in cybersecurity is one of the major things which I advocate during the new normal. So let's take a look at the takeaways, what we have discussed now. I'm going to actually summarize that. So data availability and data management are the key during the new normal. Anyone can hold any amount of data nowadays. Actually, you can have a huge amount of data lying in your servers or on the cloud, a lot of data sets. But you should know where your data is and what the data actually means to you. Which means, like, you can have data catalogs. You'll be able to have data lakes, actually APIs in front of those data to access the data securely. And so the crux here is no data in your fingerprint. Whoever has data in their fingerprint is the king. So we have seen in the recent announcement from the Oxford vaccine trial, they said, like, no, they have done the work which is supposed to be done in 5 years in 6 months time. So this, I believe, is possible because of the big data and the data management and data availability with the research team which researched on COVID-19. Next is survival depends on how quick we adapt to the change. So this is not an option now. We had to actually do these changes within the organization, bring in these changes. How responsive IT, rather than being reactive to these changes. So not only actually to the changes of because of new normal, but also to the business changes that is the result of the new normal. Next is systems should be responsive, quickly replaceable and repairable, either in parts or whole. So there are so many other IT strategies or IT technologies actually we need to bring into the organizations if we are not doing it before, like microservices, APIs, messaging, cloud native, SaaS, PaaS. So this actually will help us to be responsive and make sure like the systems are quickly repairable and replaceable. Next is the knowledge sharing. This is the most important part of the new normal which we'll be we should be doing. So knowledge sharing or knowledge management should be nurtured within the organization, and more investment need to be done on this aspect because everybody is working from different locations and everybody is actually uh, doing work at different time. And when with knowledge being at a centralized location and managed properly, we'll have same language spoken between different teams within the organization, and same understanding and knowledge being obtained or exchanged between teams. So this is one of the important takeaways on the new normal. Next one is stronger IT roadmap and strategy that need to be done based on these takeaways for the next 6 months to probably 3-year time. I would say like starts with 6 months and then we'll go ahead and then create one for the longer duration. So something need to be done for the next 6 months, and strong IT roadmap and strategy need to be devised for the new normal. Another thing is investing in the future. Of course, definitely on cybersecurity, and data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence are the future. So more investment need to be done on these sides. You may ask, like, what is the takeaway on this for the new normal? Having data science or machine learning. There are many use cases which I can actually cite. Probably I don't have time now. Probably we can discuss it later if somebody wants. Do actually let me know. I'll be happy to actually discuss on those topics. Of course, change management has to happen. We have to have a really strict and stringent and definite change management that need to be happening during this new normal. Specifically on eliminating fears and acceptance of the new normal. I'm a big advocate of mental health for people. So, I do not actually want to manage only the IT, but also, I want to manage people's mental health and support their mental health in during my um, service in any organization. So those things need to be taken care, even more rigorously in this new normal. um, of course, cultural reevaluation, the way we used to work before, we got used to doing certain things that has completely changed now. So um, new people, we have to unlearn a lot of things actually, and we have to actually be transparent. Otherwise things are not going to work when people are working from apart. And a lot of changes can happen in the software development life cycle in your IT organization. Realigning your business strategies, or IT strategies to the business, and the other way around. So many reevaluation need to be happening during this time. Next one is innovate. So that's what I would um, um, recommend as a last point here, and an important point, so which I always nurture in my work, is innovation. So things like, gamification, hackathons, knowledge sharing, the new ways of knowledge sharing. So these things need to be there as part of the new normal within an organization. So probably like, I believe I've not touched a lot of deep IT and technology side, and then try to keep myself to more generic terminologies. So hopefully everyone actually enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to speak with you all. Thank you again. Bye.
Okay, great. Fantastic presentation. Thank you, Venkat. That was excellent. So if anybody has any questions from the audience, please just leave them in the comments and we'll relay those over. Stephen, do you have any questions?
Presentation. Just to start with the new normal, do you see more companies now permanently moving towards a fully remote way of working?
Right. So we were actually talking before this and about what's happening to the new normal. So a couple of days back, I read an article in Wall Street Journal where they were telling like one of the biggest issues they are facing with the working from home is innovation is going down a lot. So people are not innovating, companies are not innovating because people are not able to see each other face to face. So I don't think on a long term, companies are going to go for um, home based working, but they'll have a mixed kind of working, like couple of days home and couple of days in office, and then slowly they'll try to transition. We don't know about this new virus actually yet, so we are still studying it, we are still trying to find out what it is. So the more we know about it, that's when I would feel like the companies will take the direction based on that. So as of now, I could see like I think Google announced yesterday or day before that all the staff will be working from home till mid of next year. So and also I think Siemens also has changed their policy of working from home, like giving more flexibility to their workers beyond next year. So basically like it really depends on the company's culture, what the company is actually doing. So that's where I could see happening in the next 6 months to 1 year time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So another question I had is based on your SWOT analysis. Actually, you in the strengths you had, say, more collaboration, and then as a weakness it was slow decision making. So do you see if there's anything that can be done to improve that decision making?
Well, we have to actually take a look at how we did the decision making before we went into lockdown. So basically, I've seen personally like we go on doing so many number of meetings with different number of people, different number of vendors, and everyone
trying to bring everyone into the same room is a bit of difficult on a person's side. So that was an issue when we had a lot of meetings happening even before the lockdown started. After the lockdown, what actually I could see was people started to realize, like, okay, their importance in an organization, they started becoming self-aware of their roles, and then they're actually quick to respond for any questions or issues that come on their way, and then they're trying to actually everything starts to move quicker, because we have this feeling, like, if we start to work from home, something else will come, and then we'll be um, distracted from our work, and also we tend to actually focus more on work psychologically during that time. So we tend to do more work during the work from home duration compared to the work which we do in office space.
Good, thank you.
I think we have one question in the comments from none other than Duncan. He says, "How do you think the agile way of working applies to remote development teams? Can it still be truly applied?"
All right, so this is a bit of a challenge actually. So in generally speaking about agile way of working, what happens is, like, you tend to break down your large piece of work into smaller piece of work, and then you tend to distribute that within your teams, and the teams will actually take it up and then break it down again, and then distribute it among themselves, and then try to do the work. Now, in case of before lockdown scenarios, if there were any issues or any questions or anything, it actually comes up quite quickly from different teams, and then goes into the person who actually gave the requirement. But after people went into lockdown, I've seen, like, a lot of people struggled initially, and then later they realized they'll have to provide a proper requirement. They have to kind of give yes, end-to-end kind of requirement to finish off certain task, and then that gets actually executed. If there is any change comes, they'll come back again, and then they'll do the change after that in the next sprint and all. So basically that's how actually people started to I would say evolve after the lockdown. So I'm thinking of, actually, I think it's going to happen more. We'll start to evolve more during this period at home, working from home in different locations, and we'll be evolving a lot on and finding new ways actually of working efficiently at this time. So that's what I'm expecting to happen in the next 6 months time during this period.
So that's great. Great. Well, I think that's all the questions we have for tonight, and just want to say thank you to both of you for taking the time to give these presentations and giving up your time tonight to give them here to us live. Huge thanks to Woodrow Mercer as well for putting on the event, and of course hosted by Pusher, which is great. If you enjoyed the event tonight, please give it a like. You're welcome to also subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more talks like this, we hold several meetups a month on the channel, and we cover all different kinds of topics, and hopefully we'll have TechHeads with us again soon, maybe next month. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evenings, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.